and she has interviewed over 100 women and formed the Phoenix Rising Women's group on Facebook. So if you're not a part of that group, please make sure you go find it on Facebook. There's very empowering things. There's a lot of interviewing of women about things that are going on with women and empowerment things. And so that is exactly why she is here today with us. Elysia, come on up. Elysia, give it up for Elysia. Elysia will be sharing with us the 5 R's. I'm not even going to tell you what those R's is because she's going to tell you. But once again, let's give it up. Get those hands together for Elysia.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Hello, amazing people of Charlottesville. I feel so lucky to get to be here today. I was here last year as a vendor doing medical massage, which I've been doing for 21 years, but I have also started doing empowerment coaching with and without horses. I came here after being on tour for 4.5 months, driving across the country, and I was homeless, and I was promoting just people having a voice and a safe space to articulate that. I came to Charlottesville with just what was in the back of my truck. I didn't know anybody here. I didn't have a place to live or a job that I was coming to. I was just in love with the beautiful mountains and nice people I had met once passing through 2019. But what I did have was a tremendous amount of faith in myself and resilience, knowing that coming to a place that there are always good people to be found no matter what the circumstances are in the world. Which brings me to the umbrella concept. Quite apropos for such a rainy day, and I couldn't have timed it better with someone just winning a purple umbrella, which happens to be one of my favorite colors. So with the umbrella concept, umbrellas are great for many things. One, on sunny days, which out here, y'all, you use these giant umbrellas at beaches. We don't do that in Washington State. When I came out here and people were like, yeah, we're gonna go to the beach and make an umbrella. I'm just like, say what? What is that? But using umbrellas for storms I am accustomed to because, as many of you have probably heard, it rains a lot in Seattle. So, for umbrellas, like in life, there are many storms that we weather as human beings. And sometimes, it's kind of like we're an island, and we walk around without our umbrella, and we get drenched and tired and cranky. But other times, you find a fantastic umbrella that's much like your community. In fact, today's event is quite a bit like a giant umbrella. Because the 5 R's, for me, that help keep me sane in times of trials, chaos, the occasional feeling of insanity, are resilience, resourcefulness, responsibility, rationale, and radiance. Resilience is really important because if we're rigid and life comes against us, sometimes we feel like we break. And then it takes a lot longer to be able to get back to ourselves and get to be our true, authentic self because we're too busy putting up walls trying to create protection. But resilience is about flexibility. It's about being able to give yourself the space and the acceptance to feel the full range of human emotion. So oftentimes, we shame ourselves for the emotions that we feel. Like it's not okay to grieve, or to be angry, or feel extreme amounts of love and joy, where we're like jumping up and down like a little kid. Who here doesn't like to play like a little kid? Honestly, does anybody here not like to occasionally splash in puddles? I know I do. But it's important to be able to give ourselves grace. Grace is saying it's okay to be messy, because that's being human. Has anyone here in this room failed? Raise your hand if you failed. If your hand is down, I don't know what you're doing in your life, but I want to talk to you later. Who here has risen in victory when you thought you had nothing left in you? Heck yeah, that's right. Every single person in this room is resilient. You found the strength within yourself to rise when you found that nothing else was in there, but a depth that you otherwise didn't know was there. And that is beautiful, my friends. That means that no matter what comes up against you in life, no matter how dire, frustrating, and enraging, you will always win. You will always rise. And it's important to not forget that. So our resources come in so many different forms. One of them is your emotional resources. To understand the bandwidth that you have on any given moment, any given day. Bandwidth is how much you have inside. Like say you wake up, you had a great night's sleep, you got done like hanging out with your friends, you're full of joy, somebody made you an epic breakfast that you're smelling from your bedroom and you can't wait to go eat. And you're just really excited and you can face anything in that day. The day started out well, and then maybe you had such a great time at breakfast that you started running late for work, and that made a little bit of your bandwidth. And then somebody cut you off traffic and you're like, oh! And that ate a little bit more of your bandwidth. And then you dealt with somebody annoying at work. And that ate a little bit more. By the time you get home, the wonderful breakfast that you started with and happy to see everybody at your house suddenly turns to you being a little bit on edge. Your bandwidth is officially gone. Who here has experienced that sort of thing? Yeah? Yeah. It's life, right? We're in 2022. If you haven't hit that point, I also want to know what you're doing. So, understanding what's inside of you and being able to acknowledge how much bandwidth you have and advocating for your needs and holding your boundaries is incredibly important. Because within that space, it gives you more sanity. It protects you from having to eat humble pie later. I'm not particularly a fan, I don't know about the rest of you. But there's no shame in acknowledging when we hit that point when we start to become irrational. Because all of us in life are going to have moments where we feel irrational. There's nothing wrong with that. It just meant you kind of hit the edge. Responsibility is that edge. There's nothing wrong with responsibility. It's actually awesome. Sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of a negative connotation because when we hit responsibility, society also feels like maybe we're doing something wrong. Like, you need to be responsible for that. You're like, do I? I really just want to eat ice cream. But personal responsibility is important because that's where our power comes from. It comes from the space of owning where it is that we are, what we've done, what we want to do, and what we're willing to take ownership of. Personal responsibility also includes not taking responsibility for somebody else when it's their turn. And I think that for a lot of people out there who are people pleasers, most of us have had those moments, either out of not wanting to deal with conflict or just wanting to make somebody happy. But it's important for us to draw the line, to be able to acknowledge that's your stuff and this is mine. And within that comes our rationality, because it's important for us to be able to own our triggers, because they show us where it is that we need to heal. It seems odd to say, I know, but it's really a gift when we find ourselves triggered, because it reveals something that we can work on within ourselves. And there is a very important difference to understand between being triggered and being angry and enraged at injustice. There is a clear line between the two, because it is very important to understand that the appropriate response to injustice is rage. And I think that sometimes people say that we're not supposed to be enraged, but rage is very healthy. Now, on the other side of that comment is also something very important. Because in experiencing the full range of emotions, it's understanding the boundaries that we need to have to healthily experience them, without damaging ourselves, our community, our friends, our family, or potentially our future.
And when you are able to communicate your needs, advocate for your boundaries within that space, you're able to come back into a space of neutrality, where we can pragmatically handle problems and obstacles with greater efficiency. And you can be in a big emotional space to do that, but you gotta know where you can hold the line authentically and ethically with integrity. And I know that every single person in this room holds tremendous power to make change in any realm of life that you choose. And within that power to make change is the necessity for neutrality, to hold that space with tremendous strength and discipline. And it takes a lot of practice to be able to hold that space and not let the rage guide you, but let it inform you to shift. Because it's very difficult for any of us to create a rational space, to act in alignment with our truth if we're irrational. Because most people don't want to listen to somebody who's in a rational space, right? Most of us shut down, or we get defensive, and that's not where real progress comes. So that comes to radiance. Because when you are in alignment with your values and your true self, my friends, you shine like the sun. You shine like the sun, and people follow you in great spaces of leadership. You walk down the street, and strangers, they notice, even if no one says anything to you, and you model it for the people around you, and your children, and your friends, and your family. And just having grace. So the 5 R's, resilience, resourcefulness, responsibility, rational, and radiance, are what helped pull me from dark spaces when I was homeless and didn't know where to go or who I could turn to come to a space where I could just stand in my truth and pull the resources from places, the beautiful communities, like the plethora of resources we have and vendors today, for the resilience that we have in each one of our stories, and for the radiance of each one of you that comes out here and honors who you are in your community, to play in moments of Zumba, to honor amazing people like Sabrina and the other people who've come here today to create this incredible event, and to celebrate one another. So thank you very much for having me today, and hats off to all of you for showing up.